What does it mean to be untouchable inside? What if you could walk through the world, insults, failure, rejection swirling around you, and remain unmoved? Not because you don't feel, not because you've turned to stone, but because deep within, you've built a kind of fortress that no one else can enter without your permission. That's what the Stoics meant by inner invincibility. It's not about becoming emotionless. It's not about denying hurt. It's about realizing that while others can act toward you, only you decide what meaning those actions carry. As Epictetus taught, it is not things themselves that disturb us, but our opinions about them. Every day, things happen to us. Someone speaks harshly, a plan falls apart, an opportunity disappears, and our reflex is to say, "They hurt me. That ruined my day. He made me feel worthless." But the Stoics ask us to pause. What if the event itself was neutral? What if the hurt came not from the thing, but from how we interpreted the thing? Someone insults you, one person laughs it off, another is devastated. Same words, different outcomes. The difference lies in the mind, not the world. To be untouchable inside does not mean you shut down. It means you take full responsibility for your emotional life. No one can inject pain into you unless you give them access. Marcus Aurelius put it simply, choose not to be harmed and you won't feel harmed. This is radical. It places the power squarely in your hands. You can feel disappointment without self-pity. You can feel sorrow without collapse. You can feel anger and still choose not to act from it, because you are not your first reaction. You are your response. Modern culture often says, speak your truth, don't let them disrespect you, stand up for yourself. But Stoicism whispers something more powerful, let your dignity speak louder than your defense. When you don't react to insults, you remain free. When you don't cling to praise, you remain steady. The Stoic doesn't seek revenge. They don't obsess over others' opinions. They know, if your peace depends on other people's behavior, then you are not free, you are owned. But if your peace comes from your own values, clarity, and reason, then you're untouchable. Some hear this and think, so I'm just supposed to not care? No, that's not Stoicism. That's apathy. The Stoic still feels. They still care, but they care about the right things. They don't let someone's rude comment destroy their day. They don't let failure define their worth. They don't give their emotions over to strangers, critics, or chaos. Why? Because the Stoic guards their inner world the way a wise ruler guards a kingdom. They say, you may enter, but only if I deem it worthy. To be calm in the storm, to be gracious under pressure, to be unshaken when others tremble or lash out. That's not weakness, that's strength. The world may shout, it may mock, it may fail to understand you. But if you've cultivated inner clarity, if you know what you stand for, what matters to you, and how you choose to live, then the world loses its power to control you. And that's the heart of Stoicism, freedom through mastery of the self. So next time someone offends you, ask yourself, is this pain necessary, or am I choosing it? Next time you fail, ask, what's the lesson, not the label? And each morning, remember this, you are not what happens to you, you are what you do with it. That is your power, that is your freedom, that is how you become truly untouchable without ever closing your heart. Epictetus, pain is optional when the mind is free. What if pain, emotional pain, was not something others give you, but something you agree to feel? It's a radical idea, but it's exactly what Epictetus, once a slave, later a great Stoic teacher, believed and taught. He said, if someone succeeds in provoking you, realize that your mind is complicit in the provocation. In other words, no one can offend you without your participation. Words are just words. Events are just events. It's the meaning you assign that gives them power over your heart. The freedom to choose your response. Imagine this. Someone insults you publicly. They say something cruel, untrue, meant to sting. You feel the anger rise, the shame, the heat of reaction. But in that tiny moment between what they say and what you feel, there is a space. And in that space, you hold the key to everything. Do you accept the insult as true? Do you take it personally? Or do you recognize this is just sound, just opinion, just someone else's turbulence trying to enter your calm? Epictetus would say, it's not the insult that hurts, it's your belief in the insult. If you don't believe it, it passes through you like wind through open hands. Nothing has meaning until you give it one. This is the deep Stoic insight. Things outside you are neutral. Praise, insult, loss, success, they mean nothing until you interpret them. Your mind is like a judge. It decides whether to grant permission for pain, offense, outrage. If you choose to label something as an attack, then pain enters. But if you see it as noise or ignorance or nothing worth your peace, then you remain free. You remain free. This isn't denial, it's discipline. It's knowing that not everything deserves your energy. Pain is a choice when you understand the process. We often say, they hurt me, that broke me. But Epictetus would ask, did they hurt you or did you let your thoughts run wild? He'd remind us, every emotion begins with a judgment, not always a conscious one, but a judgment nonetheless. He insulted me, so I must be weak. I failed, so I am worthless. But what if we challenge those automatic thoughts? What if failure was just feedback? What if insult revealed more about the speaker than the listener? Then the chain breaks, the pain dissolves, and we walk away, not wounded, but wise. This isn't suppression, it's awareness. Some may ask, but doesn't this make us cold? Unfeeling? Not at all. Stoicism doesn't say don't feel, it says don't surrender. Don't let others write your emotions for you. Don't hand over your peace like a payment every time someone speaks badly. Feel the impulse, notice it, but don't follow it blindly. This is not about bottling emotion, it's about transforming it through reflection. The slave who was freer than kings. Remember, Epictetus was born a slave. He had no freedom over his body, no rights, no wealth. And yet he said, freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things which lie beyond our control. He realized that real power wasn't in wealth or praise or control of others. It was in self-command, the ability to feel something and still choose your response, to be provoked and still stay grounded, to be insulted and still choose your dignity. That's the power of a free mind. That's the Stoic path. So next time someone says something harsh or life delivers something unfair, don't ask, why did this happen to me? Instead ask, what story am I telling myself about this, and is it true? Do I have to be hurt, or am I free to rise above it? Pain is real, but suffering is often optional, and in that space between stimulus and response, between insult and identity, you can find your freedom, quiet, steady, unshakable, just like Epictetus did. Marcus Aurelius, the offense is not in the words, but in your reaction. Choose not to be harmed, and you won't feel harmed. Don't feel harmed, and you haven't been. Marcus Aurelius. Imagine someone insults you in public. Their voice is sharp. Their words are unfair, maybe even cruel. The crowd stirs. All eyes turn to you. In that moment, what hurts more, their words or your reaction to them? Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic emperor of Rome, believed the true source of pain was never outside of us. It wasn't in the insult, it wasn't in the injustice, it wasn't even in the loss. The pain, he said, arises when we choose to feel harm, the power to choose your inner state. We live in a world where so much is beyond our control, opinions, behavior, outcomes, and misunderstandings. But the one thing no one can take from us unless we hand it over is our response. When Marcus wrote, "Choose not to be harmed," he wasn't suggesting we pretend nothing happened. He wasn't encouraging denial or numbness. What he meant was this: no event has the power to hurt your soul unless you give it permission. The insult may land, but it does not have to wound. The situation may be unfair, but your peace doesn't have to crumble. This is not indifference, it's strength. The pain lives in interpretation. To a Stoic, events are neutral. They simply are. Someone shouts, someone criticizes, someone leaves. Life unfolds as it will. Nature follows its course. The pain we experience is born not from the event itself, but from the meaning we attach to it. If someone mocks you, you have a choice. Believe their words and feel crushed, or recognize these are just words. They reflect their mind, not my worth. Marcus Aurelius trained his mind to pause in that moment and ask, is this truly harmful, or have I merely decided it is? So often, the answer is, it's my interpretation that wounds me, not the world. Dignity lies in your reaction. Marcus ruled an empire, yet he never sought to rule other people's opinions. Instead, he ruled himself, and in doing so, he discovered a deep truth. Dignity is not found in circumstances, but in the response you choose. When we react with anger, panic, or self-pity, we allow others to dictate our internal world. We hand them the keys to our emotions, but when we respond with calm, patience, and restraint, we reclaim our inner fortress. This is where real strength lives, in the quiet choice to remain grounded when storms rage around you. No one can humiliate you without your consent. There is a story told about Marcus. A senator once insulted him during a meeting, questioning his leadership in front of others. Marcus paused. Then he replied, not with fury, not with sarcasm, but with calm clarity. He addressed the issue, not the insult. The room was stunned, not by his silence, but by his composure. He understood something few people ever do. Humiliation only happens when we believe we've been diminished. If you know your worth, no one can take it from you with words. You are not made of glass. The Stoics saw human beings as strong by nature, not fragile. Your mind, your values, your integrity, these are not easily broken. They are forged in awareness, in choice, in reason. If someone throws words at you like stones, you can decide, I am not made of glass. I do not shatter on contact. You are not obligated to be wounded just because someone wants you to be. Marcus Aurelius lived in a palace, but his true kingdom was within. He knew that no title, no praise, and no insult could touch his inner core unless he allowed it. So he chose, again and again, not to feel harmed. And by doing so, he reminded us of a simple truth. You cannot control what others do, but you can always control what it means to you. This is the heart of Stoic resilience. Not hardening your heart, but opening your eyes. Not ignoring reality, but rising above it. Not reacting blindly, but responding wisely. That is how you remain unshaken. That is how you stay free. The Stoic fortress. Why no one has power over your soul. Imagine your mind as a fortress, strong, silent, and impenetrable. Outside, the world may rage, people may insult you, misunderstand you, ignore you, but within, there is peace, there is clarity, there is power. This is the Stoic image of the mind at its best, not fragile, but fortified, not closed, but protected, and above all, untouchable, unless you choose otherwise. Seneca once wrote, a wise man is safe from the wounds of insults. To the Stoics, your soul is your last and highest domain, and no one, not a stranger, not a critic, not even someone you love, can invade it without your consent. Words can reach your ears, but not your essence. People speak, they judge, they praise, they condemn. It is what people do. But here is the Stoic truth. Their words carry no weight unless you give them permission. Seneca taught that words do not pierce the wise, not because the wise are deaf, but because they have chosen not to let noise become injury. Just like a fortress stands firm in a storm, the Stoic mind stands calm in the face of opinion. You hear what is said, but you don't hand over your peace. You notice the insult, but you don't absorb it as truth. Rejection is only real if you internalize it. How often do we feel small because of someone's silence, someone's criticism, or someone's rejection? But the Stoics would ask, who decides what that rejection means? Them or you? Someone may not invite you, may not agree with you, may walk away from your life, but only you decide if that absence becomes a wound. To live with inner dignity means to stop giving others the power to define your worth. You can acknowledge pain without becoming it. You can lose something without losing yourself. The gate to your peace has only one key, and you hold it. The Stoics believed that nothing external can disturb your soul unless you open the gate. The gaze of others, their comments, their applause, or disapproval, these are like travelers passing by your fortress. You can observe them, but you don't have to invite them in. Your worth is not something others give you, it is something you live. Seneca wrote, "He who receives a benefit with gratitude repays the first installment." He might as well have said, "He who receives an insult without taking it in stays free." Strength is not in shouting back, but in not needing to. In today's world, we often confuse strength with loudness, quick replies, witty comebacks, public displays of power. But to a Stoic, strength lies in stillness, in restraint, in the ability to remain untouched. When someone offends you, you don't need to prove your worth. When someone misunderstands you, you don't have to explain your soul. Silence, when it comes from calm confidence, is not weakness. It is dignity. It is the quiet voice that says, I know who I am. I do not need to shout it. The mind is a fortress, not a prison. Some may worry, if I shut people out, won't I become cold or distant? But the Stoic mind is not a prison. It is a sanctuary. It is not isolation, it is independence. You can still love, care, and connect deeply with others, but you do so from strength, not from need. You give, not to earn approval, but because generosity is part of your nature. You listen, not to conform, but to understand. You stand firm, not out of pride, but out of self-respect. You are the guardian of your peace. The world will not stop speaking. People will not always be kind. You will not always be understood. But none of that can shake the soul who knows this truth. Nothing can hurt me unless I let it in. You are the gatekeeper. You decide who enters. You decide what stays. So build your mind like a fortress, not cold but clear, not unfeeling but unshakable. And let the winds howl outside. Inside there is calm. Inside there is you. The judgment is worse than the injury. Men are disturbed not by things, but by the views they take of them. Epictetus. You are walking down the street when someone throws an insult at you. The words hit your ears, but do they have to hit your heart? According to the Stoics, the answer is no. Words, actions, looks, they may happen around you, but how deeply they affect you depends entirely on you. This is one of the core ideas in Stoic philosophy. Pain doesn't come from the event, but from the meaning you attach to it. The event versus the interpretation. Epictetus taught this with piercing clarity. It is not the thing itself that causes harm, but our opinion of it. Someone criticizes you, that's the event. You believe it proves you're not good enough, that's the interpretation. And that interpretation, not the event, is what causes you suffering. The Stoics weren't trying to say life is easy or words are meaningless. Instead, they wanted us to realize, you are not powerless. You may not control what happens, but you absolutely control how you see it. Change your perception and the pain loses its grip. You are the gatekeeper of meaning. Think of your mind as a fortress, and you are the gatekeeper. Outside, the world throws stones, harsh words, unfair treatment, misunderstandings, but nothing can enter unless you open the gate. Insults only hurt when you believe them. Rejection only stings when you link it to your worth. Disrespect only wounds when you accept it as truth. This isn't about ignoring what happens. It's about refusing to turn passing events into permanent scars. How we harm ourselves. The Stoics believed that no one can truly harm your soul except you. The real injury doesn't come from the outside. It comes from what you tell yourself afterward. When someone mocks us, we replay it in our minds again and again, like picking at a wound that would have healed if left alone. We say things like, maybe they're right. Why do they always treat me this way? I can't believe this is happening to me. With each thought, we cut a little deeper. The injury might have started with someone else, but we're the ones keeping it alive. Epictetus invites us to break this cycle. He asks us to pause and ask, is this belief helping me or hurting me? Most of the time, we'll find that our suffering is optional. Perspective is power. Imagine two people facing the same situation. One feels devastated, the other calm. Why? Not because life is different for them, but because their interpretation is. One believes the setback is a curse. The other sees it as a challenge. One takes the insult personally. The other sees it as noise, not truth. One clings to the hurt, the other releases it. This is not magic. It's mental discipline. It's the daily choice to ask, what else could this mean? Does this deserve my peace? Is this truly harmful or just unpleasant? These questions can change your entire inner world. The freedom of letting go. When you realize that your mind is your own, that no one can force meaning upon you, you begin to feel a rare kind of freedom. You stop being tossed around by every opinion, every reaction, every comment. You stand firm. And when the world comes at you with noise and negativity, you don't have to fight it. You just don't let it in. Because you know, the real danger isn't the insult. It's the decision to take it personally. The Stoics never promised a world free of hardship. What they offered instead was far more powerful, a way to suffer less in the same world. And it begins with this truth. You are not what happens to you. You are how you choose to see it. So the next time someone hurts you, pause. Before the feeling settles, ask, is this the injury or just my judgment of it? You may find that the storm is smaller than it seemed. You may even realize it was never truly inside you at all. The illusion of control, why expectation creates pain. External things are not the problem. It's your assessment of them. Marcus Aurelius. Why does disappointment sting so deeply? You planned carefully. You gave your all. You expected loyalty, recognition, or love, and when it didn't come, the pain arrived like a storm. But according to the Stoics, the pain didn't come from the world. It came from your expectation of how the world should be. The source of suffering. Stoicism teaches us that the root of much of our emotional pain isn't reality. It's how tightly we cling to a version of it that never existed. You expected someone to understand you. You expected your hard work to be rewarded. You expected life to be fair. And when reality unfolded differently, you were shocked, not because the world was cruel, but because it refused to obey your expectations. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, external things are not the problem, it's your assessment of them. The hurt didn't come from what happened, it came from what you thought should have happened. Expectation is a hidden form of control. When we expect others to behave a certain way, we are often unconsciously trying to control something we do not own. Their minds, their moods, their choices. We want the weather to be sunny. We want people to speak kindly. We want life to go our way. But the Stoics remind us those things are not up to you. The weather, people's behavior, even your own health and fortune, these are all external. The more you tie your peace to them, the more fragile your peace becomes. Expecting the world to follow your script is like asking the sea to be still. When it doesn't, you suffer, not because of the waves, but because of your refusal to let them be waves. The antidote: acceptance, not apathy. This doesn't mean giving up or becoming passive. The Stoic doesn't say, don't care. The Stoic says, care wisely, do your best, love fully, show up with purpose, but release your demand that life owes you a certain outcome. When you drop the illusion of control, something surprising happens. Peace begins to appear. You are no longer fighting with the world, you are flowing with it. You see things clearly without the fog of should and must. You begin to live not in resistance, but in alignment with reality. A Stoic's approach to painful outcomes. Let's say a friend betrays you. The natural reaction is pain, anger, confusion. But the Stoic pauses and reflects, did I control this friend's choices? No. Was I promised their loyalty? No. Did I act with integrity? Yes. Then why should I lose my peace? The pain is real, but it doesn't have to be permanent, because the moment you recognize that your expectation, not the betrayal, is what's breaking your heart, you regain your power. Freedom from the tyranny of should. Every time you say, they should have, or this shouldn't have happened, you build a prison of disappointment. The Stoic tears down that prison by remembering a simple truth. Life is what it is, not what you think it should be. And when you meet life as it is, something miraculous unfolds. You stop bracing against reality. You stop needing everything to go right in order to feel okay. You become resilient, not because the world changes, but because you do. Expectation is a silent thief. It robs your joy by convincing you that life must match your plan. The Stoic, like Marcus Aurelius, chooses a different path. Do not seek for events to happen as you wish, but wish for them to happen as they do, and your life will go smoothly. Epictetus. This is not resignation, it is realism wrapped in wisdom. When you release your grip on the uncontrollable, you don't lose power. You gain inner strength, calm, adaptable, grounded. Because in the end, the world doesn't need to change for you to be at peace. You just need to stop asking it to. Insults, criticism, and rejection. The Stoic response. Reproach cannot touch a wise man. It falls upon him like rain on a rock. Seneca. We've all felt it, the sting of a harsh word, the ache of being misunderstood, the cold silence of rejection. Our natural impulse is to tense up, defend, or strike back. We imagine justice lives in retaliation. That dignity lives in not letting them get away with it. But the Stoics offer a radically different path. One not of silence and weakness, but of silence and strength. When insulted, a Stoic does not rush to defend the ego. When criticized, a Stoic does not collapse into doubt. And when rejected, a Stoic does not beg to belong. Why? Because the Stoic knows something deeper. Nothing others say can truly touch your soul unless you let it in. Calm surface over deep waters. Seneca paints the image beautifully. Insults, he says, are like rain falling on stone. They make a sound. They create movement, but they do not penetrate. They do not scar. The Stoic mind is that stone, not cold, but solid, not unfeeling, but unmoved by the meaningless. This isn't arrogance. It's not about pretending that words can never hurt. It's about remembering that you are not made of what people say. Their praise doesn't define you. Their blame doesn't diminish you. Just as the sea remains the sea, no matter how the wind stirs its surface, your essence remains untouched by passing opinions. The ego's craving for defense. Why do we feel such urgency to explain ourselves when misunderstood? Why do we flare up at criticism even when it's untrue? Because our ego whispers, they must see me the right way. But the Stoic rejects this dependence on perception. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, the approval of others is a shifting thing, but integrity, you carry that always. To live reacting to every slight, every rumor, every false judgment is to be ruled by noise. A Stoic does not chase noise, a Stoic guards peace, the gift of rejection. Even rejection, when viewed through Stoic eyes, transforms from a wound into a mirror. It shows you where you've placed your worth, in acceptance, belonging, admiration. But the Stoic knows what you are is not up for vote. You do not become less valuable because someone turns away. You do not need to chase the ones who walked past your truth. The wise man remains seated, composed, not because he feels nothing, but because he knows what matters most cannot be taken away by silence or scorn. The choice to stay still. Stoicism is not a philosophy of indifference. It is a philosophy of disciplined attention. You notice the insult, you hear the criticism, but you ask, does this deserve my peace? And if the answer is no, you let it pass. Not every fight is worth entering. Not every voice deserves a reply. In stillness, there is power. In restraint, there is clarity. The Stoic remains whole not because they are blind, but because they see too clearly to be disturbed. A fortress without walls. Seneca once wrote, "A wise man is safe from the wounds of insults." But how? Because he does not internalize what does not belong to him. He knows insults are reflections of the speaker, not the target. If someone calls you worthless, what does it say about them? Their fear, their ignorance, their pain? A Stoic meets such words not with anger, but with understanding and, if possible, compassion, because he knows he once spoke out of pain too. This is not passivity, it's mastery. To remain unshaken in the face of harm is not to submit, it is to rise above. In the end, insults are just words. Criticism is just sound. Rejection is just a door that wasn't meant to open. And you are more than all of that. You are not the echo of someone else's opinion. You are not the sum of what others accept or reject. You are, in the words of the Stoics, your reasoned choice. That is your fortress. And as long as you guard it with wisdom, no storm can touch what's inside. Let the winds blow. Let the rain fall. You are the rock beneath the waves. True power. To walk through the world untouched. What if your greatest strength isn't in how much you fight back, but in how little anything can reach your inner peace? This is the Stoic view of true power, not the power to control others or to avoid pain, but the power to remain untouched by what doesn't truly matter. Epictetus once said, "You may fetter my leg, but my will remains free." He knew something many forget. Our freedom doesn't live in the body, the job, or the praise of others. It lives in the will, that quiet part of you that chooses how to see, how to feel, and how to act. And that part, no one can reach it unless you let them in. The world will push, but you don't have to fall. You will face rejection. You will be misunderstood. You will be criticized by people who don't know your heart and ignored by people who never tried to. The Stoic doesn't deny this. They just don't hand over their soul because of it. Epictetus taught, it's not the event that disturbs us, but our judgment of the event. If someone offends you and you decide not to be offended, what harm have they done? True power is found in that decision. No one can define you unless you believe them. People will try to name you failure, fraud, weak, selfish, but these labels only stick if you wear them. The Stoic learns to ask, is this true or just someone else's noise? If it's not true, let it pass like wind. If it is, learn, grow, and still move forward with dignity. You don't need to silence the world to find peace. You only need to stop mistaking noise for truth. Pain will visit, but it doesn't have to stay. Life is not without pain. Even the wisest Stoics felt grief, sadness, and fear, but they knew that pain is not the enemy. The enemy is surrendering your soul to it. You can cry and still be strong. You can feel sorrow and still remain whole. You can lose everything and still walk with clarity because your inner self is untouched. Freedom is not avoidance, it's authority. To be Stoic is not to hide from life, it's to walk right through it, grief, insult, failure, and remain unmoved where it matters most. This is not coldness, it's not pride, it's presence, it's sovereignty. Freedom to the Stoic is not escape from pain, it's knowing that pain does not own you. You don't need to avoid life's storms. You just need to stop letting them decide who you are. The soul cannot be taken, only surrendered. Here's the deepest Stoic truth. They can take your title, they can take your job, they can take your home, your money, your reputation, but they cannot take your soul. Not unless you give it to them, by believing their words, fearing their judgment, or abandoning your values. Seneca, Marcus, Epictetus, they all lived through loss, but they never lost themselves, because they knew what truly belongs to you. Your reason, your choices, your character can never be taken, only surrendered. Viktor Frankl, a modern thinker influenced by Stoicism, said, "The last of human freedoms is to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances." The Stoics taught this long before him. They showed us how to walk with calm through chaos, how to stand tall when the world kneels, how to remain whole in a world that tries to break you. So here's the final reminder. They can take your title, your home, your name, but they can never touch your soul unless you hand it to them. Hold that truth close and walk freely, untouched, unshaken, and truly powerful.